Hey guys, King of Charmass here to be your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you our full review on Araquanid. So this thing was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread in Open Great League. Actually, Azumarill if you want to see the closest thing to sliced bread. But unfortunately, Niantic did debuff it. So people are actually watching, at least from that place, in the Twitterverse, that hey, this might be a really bad idea if we give this Pokemon a certain amount of movesets and introduce it into the meta, because guess what? It might break the meta for Worlds and Regionals. And yeah, at least someone's actually looking. At least someone's doing their job, because, you know, we're talking about Niantic here. Anyways, enough of me roasting about Niantic personally and professionally, but as you see, Araquanid did get debuffed. Araquanid, basically what happened to Araquanid, they took away Bubble and they also took away Lunge. Two very good moves, which they got stabbed from. Also, Lunge is an incredibly powerful move, as Araquanid is a water bug type, so it took away good stab moves, and now you're stuck with Infestation and Bug Buzz, which it's still not terrible per se, but it's definitely not as good as what it could have been. So this analysis is going to be my full analysis on Araquanid and whether or not it's really, like, you know, does it really matter that much? Or, like, yeah, it does, but, like, let's see the huge difference, like, in every scenario and see if it actually, like, you know, does a little thing. As usual, I will be analyzing the 2s, 1s, and the 0s, and then we're going to take a look, and I'm going to give you a little information about Araquanid and why the heck it's so good. I'm going to simplify it as fast as humanly possible so that we can get on with the analysis. And before we get started, as you know, I am a therapist, and my therapist mental health tip of the day is actually going to be, well, it's Monday. So make sure you check out your friends and family. I always say that I give that one of the things here and there, but usually every week I say that, and I'm going to start it off with a Monday because a friend of mine had someone pass away dear to them. So yes, make sure you check up on your friends and make sure you check up on your family. If they are giving their stuff away, if they are telling you goodbye world or something like that, that's probably a good sign that you should give them a call and ask, hey, are you suicidal or you plan on doing something yourself? And that's usually all it takes so that they can break out and say, I need help. But if you don't have the courage to do that, there is the suicide hotline, and I will put that in the description below. But yes, there's a 24/7 suicide hotline that will help you out. There's also one specifically for veterans where they will literally voice chat you and everything, and it's an amazing website. It's an amazing resource. So again, check up on your friends and family, make sure they're doing healthy, make sure they're doing good, and it might do good for you to check them out as well, because you don't know, you might be alone, you might be having not wonder of the day, but it's always good to have someone to vent to and that friend you can go to when you're having really tough times, especially when it comes to death in the family or death of a really close friend. So check up your friends and family. This is going to be my analysis on Araquanid. And wasn't Araquanid really that good? Let's find out. Alright, as you see here, here's Araquanid's stats and its type chart. We're going to look at that real quick. As you see, Araquanid does max out at 2065. Sadly, it's not 69. However, its stamina stat does max out at a whooping, wonderful 169. Very nice. But why Araquanid is so good is look at that defense. It has an incredibly high defense stat. It's basically Deoxys defense's best friend. If Deoxys defense had a water cousin, it would basically be Araquanid. Or if you want the more hated Pokemon, basically Azumarill. So Araquanid is Azumarill's, like, if a Azumarill is a bug, that's what an Araquanid would be. And why Araquanid is so freaking good is look at those resistances. You resist fighting, ground, ice, steel, and water. So counter users are incredibly popular, like Medicham, Scrafty, etc. Take it out. There you go. Watch, you have Araquanid. You resist the fighting types. You also resist ground. So Earthquake is resisted, which means those Earthquakes ain't gonna do much to you. Or things like Sand Tomb, etc. Ice types are also resisted. So Walrein, hi, goodbye. Walrein has something that actually walls it. So Araquanid, if a Walrein gets locked into Araquanid, it's your worst nightmare. It also resists steel and water type attacks as well. So Mirror Coat, Hydro Cannons, this thing is an incredible core breaker for a lot of the meta. So with great resistances, great defense, the thing about it is it has a lot of resistances for the trade-off of only 3 weaknesses: Electric, Flying, and Rock. Which means Skarmory is going to be your worst freaking nightmare, and well, likely Skarmory is going to be. Like Skarmory, Mandibuzz, for electric types, you got things like Alvantula, Electrode, #Get Beamed. You have rock type attacks like Smackdown, our most hated friend of all time, Bastiodon. It might be your friend if you use it a lot. Might not be your friend if it takes all your elo like it does to me. But in a nutshell, Araquanid, lots of bulk, great resistances, and also an incredibly amazing stamina stat. Alright, so here is the pvpoke.com matrix. For those of you who don't know, matrix is a great way to figure out quickly and thoroughly to see what you beat and what you don't beat in certain scenarios. Mind to keep you in mind, side effects include this is bait dependent and some other things might actually affect things, such as IVs, 1 HP in a dream, bulk and breakpoints, which don't matter too much, and IVs don't objectively matter that much as you think it does. Pokemon Go, bulk is king, and in some instances or strategies, such as winning CMP, it doesn't really matter too much. But what does matter is that what you beat, what you not beat, if everything goes well, if everything goes Gucci, we are going to find out. I got Araquanid, as you see, Araquanid before it's debuffed, Bubble, Lunge, Bubble Beam. I also have Infestation, Lunge, and Bubble Beam. None of you are ever going to use Mirror Shot. No, seriously, you get no stab and you don't get the guaranteed debuff. So what happens if you take away Lunge and give it Bug Buzz, as you see here, and also take away Bubble? Because Bubble is super effective against a lot of things and Infestation actually gets resisted. So, let's take a look. This is the 2 shield. I already ran the matrix, and as you see here, everything generally lines up the same, at least against a lot of big meta picks, but you're going to start seeing how terrible it is that this moveset did change. So if you scroll down, as you see, without Bubble, you lose against Cofagrigus. With Bubble, you lose against Ferrothorn, but, you know, Araquanid versus Ferrothorn, you're already gambling a lot anyways because, you know, Power Whip does neutral damage. However, as you see, with Infestation, with Bubble Beam, and with Bug Buzz, you could take out Ferrothorn. However, you could also do that with Lunge and Infestation, so X Ferrothorn. You're probably not going to use Araquanid to counter Ferrothorn anyways, but in the 2 shield, it would have been nuts. Well, not really not nuts, because Ferrothorn isn't that, well, it's out there and open greatly, but it's not that great. With the Bubble version, you can also take out Shadow Champ and Alolan Marowak. Those are 2 big ones. Alolan Marowak isn't used as much, but not to say it's not as good. Shadow Champ is a beast and an absolute destroyer. However, fighting is resisted. I mean, Bug is resisted by fighting, which is why Shadow Champ just laughs at you as it attempts to, as it literally cross chops you to oblivion. So I don't know why. Well, actually, no. I think that's the other. I think I'm wrong. I think that's the other way around. But if we take a look at the Shadow Champ matchup, Shadow Champ does an insane amount of damage. It's literally the debuffs that give you the W. As you see, Araquanid wins by just straight Lunge. Lunge would debuff the unholy heck out of Shadow Machamp that the Rock Slide, as you see here, wouldn't actually KO. So double lunges, your Shadow Champ would have to shield and then poof. As you see here, Rock Slide would not kill because you're double debuffed. And as you see here, you get one more lunge and then that's the GG's. So as you see, that's how you take out Shadow Champ. I don't see a lot of Shadow Champs in Go. Yeah, there's not a lot of Shadow Champs. At least I don't see them nowadays. So you probably won't see them as much now. But if they're out there. You also are able to take out Nidoqueen and Alolan Ninetales. These are huge. Shadow Nidoqueen is an incredibly powerful threat. If you've been watching the regionals or world circuit, it has been using a lot. Shadow Nidoqueen is a beast because its ability to resist both charmers as well as fighters. Poison Fang allows you to debuff tremendously, and Earth Power is a great coverage move. You can even have Stone Edge, but Nidoqueen's ability to debuff, Poison Jab getting its buff really made that, like, Shadow Nidoqueen is one of the more oppressive things, and without Bubble, unfortunately, you're going to die a lot. Because essentially what happens in this scenario is that Shadow Nidoqueen just resists you so much that you can't take it out with Araquanid, and without Lunge, unfortunately, or without Bubble Beam damage, you just can't take it out. Same thing with Alolan Ninetales. As you see with Alolan Ninetales, without Lunge, unfortunately, you can get charmed to death. That's Charmtails, but with Bubble, at least you had a chance. The reason why is because of Infestation and the fact that Alolan Ninetales is able to ball out. And yeah, just pretty much ball out. You're able to beat Obstagoon in any way, shape, or form just because of the fact Dark is weak to Bug. That's a good thing. You're also able to beat out Politoed because you're able to resist it even with Earthquake. With Politoed and with Walrein, you do in fact wall both of them because you resist both ground and you, of course, you resist water. So, very good things there. You also beat Sableye and Scrafty. So even though you don't have it, some matchups are there. However, here's the thing. You lose against Stunfisk. You also lose against Sylveon, Talonflame, and Toxicroak. Yep. So, the reason why is Infestation is double resisted against Talonflame as well as all Charmers, and Toxicroak does also resist it because it's poison. So, with that being said, as you see here, you lose a lot of matchups. A lot. Without Bubble. And that's just how Bubble, because Bubble gets stabbed, yes, and like how Azu is just so broken because Bubble, and it has such a fantastic and phenomenal moveset in Ice Beam, Bubble Beam, and Hydro Pump. As you see here, the good thing is you at least have 1+. You take out the big Ghost Tree from the Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? Enter Mighty. Unfortunately, Trevenant does fall to Araquanid with Infestation and Bug Buzz, so either one would have worked. And of course, because Bubble's resisted by Trevenant, so that's a good plus. You beat Umbreon, you beat Venusaur, you beat Vigoroth, and like I mentioned, you wall Rain. You also beat Wishcash for the sheer fact you also wall it, so the Mud Boys really hate you because of your existence. And that totals up to, as you see, the win-loss average, a Bubble absolutely eclipsing the meta. As you see here, that is well, it's not an enormous one, but 7 whole wins against very meta-relevant Pokemon, that matters a lot. If this was MMA, basically Bubble Lunge and Bubble Beam Araquanid would basically be the, let's see, Gengar Musashi, if you guys know, if you follow the MMA space. So, as you see, Araquanid with Bubble and Lunge would have been amazing. Not so much as far the Infestation as you see here, but you do lose some valuable things, but it can still be viable in World/Regionals. But you lose against both Stunfisk's, you lose against Marowak, Alolan Marowak, you lose against Toxicroak, and a lot of valuable matchups you could have flipped as long as you had Bubble. Literally, that's how much types do matter. Not so much as IVs, but typings definitely do matter. Alright, so we did the 2 shield. Here's the 1 shield. We're going to hit battle, and we're going to go all the way back. And as you see here, in the 1 shield, it does actually matter a lot more in the 1s than the 2s. As you see, as you start losing shields and Araquanid goes down to the 1s, you will lose against both versions. You will lose against Azumarill if it has Play Rough, as you see here. That's a huge matchup in the 1 shield, which really sucks. With Lunge, you could potentially take it against Azu. A 504, 507, 503 isn't a great rating, but to go from 452 to 507, that's a big jump. So this is close, but at least you are able to beat Azumarill if you had Bubble, which is kind of ironic because, you know, well, the reason being is Bug is resisted by Fairy, so that's why Azumarill does so well. But the fact is, you also resist Bubble, so it's just like, it's really Lunge what kind of gives you that debuff ability. Because again, if you don't have Play Rough, you can actually beat Azumarill. You're still able to beat most of everything of the same. Ferrothorn does die to both if you lose 1 shield. Anything key matchup-wise that you lose, Shadow Champ and Alolan Marowak, you still lose those. You are able to beat Mandibuzz in the 1 shield though, with Bug Buzz. And also Mew. Assuming that Mew is carrying Surf and Wild Charge, which is the general moveset in the 1 shield. You are able to eat an entire Wild Charge. That's how thick this thing is, but you can eat 2 for sure. As you see here, you do a great number of work against still in the 1 shield. So it's not super bad in the 1 shield versus the 2s. You still lose against the Nidoqueen, so there's some things you don't change in the 1 shield. And of course, you still lose against things like G-Fisk as well as Toxicroak. And you just solidify your L to Talonflame and Sylveon, or just Charmers in general. You're still able to beat Trevenant, which is always a good thing. I don't know why the big Ghost Tree is always disrespected by this Water Buck thingy, or Water Strider thingy, but yes, you do beat Trevenant. Other than that, most of everything's still the same. So comparison to the 2 shield, then the 1 shield, as you see, Bubble still reigns supreme. It's actually very, very close, as you see the win-loss record. Very close average against the entire meta. The 1 shield Araquanid isn't that bad. I mean, it's still bad because you don't carry Bubble. I mean, the Azu matchup is pretty much just a signal of what the heck, right? You resist water, but for some odd reason, you still die. I mean, you win. But if you have Infestation, you lose. What? What? Right? And other than that, unfortunately, Araquanid with Infestation, Lunge, and Bubble Beam just don't do any justice. So, very solid record. It still might be useful. Keyword is still might, but you're gonna have to, I mean, it has great bench pressure. That's basically it. But overall, as you see, not too much a difference as an average. The big key matchup you lose in the 1 shield is definitely G-Fisk. G-Fisk is big, because G-Fisk does do super effective with Rock. And that you lose G-Fisk and Toxicroak. You do beat Trevenant though, so would you rather beat a tree, or would you rather beat one of the most well, this thing's overpowered too, but one of the most overpowered things in the world since Season 2, and of course Toxicroak. Alright, now the zeros. When shields are down, Araquanid definitely doesn't go to town. When you have no nuke abilities, and yeah, it's bad. So if you look and you just go scroll across, you lose against a lot of things. You definitely lose against Azumarill, Bastion laughs at you, Coffer is rolling in its coffin, and yeah. But the good thing is you still beat a few things. So in Araquanid still has good chances against Cresselia, Deoxys defense. Dugong is big. This is a big one right here. Just because you pretty much wall Dugong, but you also Infestation and Bubble Beam with Bug Buzz. Dugong does not resist Bug Buzz. So there are still great matchups despite the fact that in the closer it does lose a lot of it does drop off a lot. You lose against Ferrothorn, Frostless, Driplim, also against Jellicent. Machamp now has a serious matchup against you, but we're not here to debate of that. Would you have won with Bubble? So with Bubble, you drop off against Galvantula. That's pretty huge. You also drop off against Alolan Marowak and Shadow Nidoqueen. This is the worst thing in the world. One of the worst things in the world. Shadow Nidoqueen, as well as Sableye. You can't beat Sableye in the 0 because return will pretty much send you to Oblivion. That or 2 foul plays, I think. Well, I think, is it the return? How much does a return do for science? Okay, so you need return and a foul play, but that's still enough to kill you because you need 3 bug buzzes. That or some chip damage on that or some chip. Yeah, some chip. That or some chip. This is super close, so don't bank on it. So you need to do a whole return and a bug buzz, but as long as you have some chip, you can flip this matchup. So again, G-Fisk, big matchup, you lose against that, as well as Talonflame and Toxicroak. The sheer fact you can beat Talonflame and Toxicroak in the 0s because Talonflame can nuke you is just nuts with an Araquanid with Bubble. So as you see here, if you go above, the record is really bad. With Bubble, you do have a positive win record, but not only is it 30, but also against relevant meta picks. And as for the record, you don't really flip anything that's really notable that you would normally beat with Araquanid with its new moveset, or taking away Lunge for the most part. So, in the closer, Araquanid's still good against a lot of the meta, but you drop off against a lot of meta. Particularly G-Fisk and Shadow Nidoqueen. Those are probably the 2 big ones that you really do lose against with Araquanid. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So in total, is Araquanid still good despite its new moveset? Yes, it's still good. It would have been an absolute nightmare with its old moveset because it would stall the holy crap and it just beats way too many things. Every person would have an Araquanid in regionals and worlds if it had its old moveset because that's how good it is. You know how Walrein and Trev kind of flip the entire meta upside down? Guess what? Araquanid is basically the big brother of those 2. But not to say Araquanid still is good. Araquanid can still take out Araquanid core breaks the Rev Troll core, the Walrein Trev core. It also gives Cresselia really bad and Diatz's defense. So it beats a lot of things, even without Bubble. Of course, with Bubble, you do lose against things like Stunfisk, etc. However, there's still chances and there's still win conditions. But like I mentioned, it's not that bad. Like, it can still have some use, especially in regionals and worlds. It's probably something you want to look out for. In fact, it's probably something I'm going to start looking out for because, like I mentioned, this thing still core breaks the unholy crap out of a lot of really popular meta Pokemon. Of course, you have to watch out for G-Fisk, but you can cover it. And Araquanid is still, even if it's just on your team, it puts a whole lot of bench pressure on your opponent. Especially, you can expect to see a lot of like anti-Araquanid or like flyers are going to be a lot more prominent now that Araquanid did get debuffed. I mean, get debuffed, but like it can still be on a team. And like I mentioned, it's still really good. Don't sleep on the Water Bug Strider. This thing is gonna go burr, like magic burr. It's not ice type, but it's gonna go pew pew with the Bubble Beam. So it's still really good. I'm really looking at it. Like I said, I'm really looking at it. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm really. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Araquanid is still good. Does drop off a lot of Pokemon, but I would say it's better for balance. Do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. You can either subscribe by using the little box at the bottom right there, as you see. And could also comment for the YouTube algorithm. I really do appreciate it for the YouTube algorithm. Some of you already do that already. I really do appreciate y'all, and I make the time to try to respond to every single one of you. And I really do appreciate every single one of you, by the way. And also, I stream on Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday on Twitch, usually 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Sometimes I'm a little late, but I try to stream as consistently as possible. So far, I've been on a roll, unless I'm on vacation, which is going to happen soon. But I will still try to consistently debut content on YouTube. I just can't stream because, you know, streaming is painful when you're traveling. I mean, I can do it, but then, like, yeah, more news on that later. But I really do appreciate you. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. Again, Araquanid still beastly, even though it got debuffed. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets again, and I will see you all on the next video.